My friends, what happened in the last 24 hours in southern Iran was not just retaliation. It was the surgical dismantling of the Ayatollah's blackmail leverage and the definitive demonstration that the United States will not negotiate with terrorists with a checkbook in hand. Pay attention to what we're going to break down here today. What the mainstream media calls an escalation in the Middle East, the military calls a cleanup operation. The United States Central Command, CENTCOM, unleashed a firestorm for 3 uninterrupted hours. The leaked images showed the cold brutality of the operation. F-16 fighter jets taking off from the aircraft carrier deck in the darkness. Iranian mobile command trucks, possibly those used to coordinate drone swarms, reduced to twisted ashes. Bases and hideouts of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard were pulverized. Attack boats. Iranians who were hiding were hunted down and neutralized. And most impressively, CENTCOM cameras recorded craters gouged into the mountainsides. These were not natural caves. They were ballistic missile launch complexes designed to function like anthills of death. But the big revelation isn't in the number of holes in the ground. The revelation is in the photo of a single F-16 fighter jet, hours before the attack, and in what it was carrying under its wings. And for you to grasp the full tactical picture, the Iranian state media itself was forced to swallow its pride and report massive detonations sweeping the country in 5 critical points: Bushehr, Abu Musa, Kish Island, Avaz, and Kesh Island. And if you think the F-16 is just an old Cold War plane, you don't understand the evolution of lethality. The F-16 wasn't chosen because it's exotic. It was chosen because it's the workhorse of the Air Force. It's raw military engineering muscle. But what matters here isn't the plane, it's the lethal payload hanging from it. In the release photos, we see the F-16 loaded with GBU-38 JDAM bombs and the GBU-54. We're talking about 500-pound bombs guided by GPS and laser. But the real terror for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard was in the smaller racks. The fighter jet was armed with GBU-39s. The GBU-39 is not an ordinary bomb. It's an absolute precision weapon with a 100-kilogram warhead and the so-called diamondback wings, which open at the moment of launch. And what does that mean in practice? Simon? Well, that means the pilot can drop this bomb from more than 100 kilometers away. The bomb will glide silently through the air, navigating the maze of a busy Iranian city, and enter with surgical precision through the exact window on that floor where the Revolutionary Guard leadership is hiding, without destroying the hospital or the university that's on the street next door. And the F-16 carries a special BRU-61 rack that allows it to attach 4 of these bombs in the space of 1. In just one pass, a single fighter jet can decapitate 4 different Islamic Revolutionary Guard headquarters simultaneously. And the technology doesn't stop at aerodynamics. The new GBU-39s are being integrated with artificial intelligence, allowing the bomb itself to automatically identify the tracks of a specific tank, or the silhouette of a military satellite dish, even if the target is moving. And then you ask yourself, but Shimon, how does the pilot survive if he has to aim at all this all night long? That's where the economics of war comes in. The financial aspect of war, and the second weapon that the F-16 carried, the APKWS rockets. The APKWS is a 70mm rocket that received a laser guidance kit from BAE Systems. Shooting down a scrap drone from the Shahid class using a Patriot anti-aircraft missile costs more than $1 million. It's a drain on American coffers. But using the APKWS costs $24,900, the US Air Force realized that the cost curve was destroying its efficiency. BAE System has spent the last 12 years quietly building these laser guidance kits at its facilities in the cities of Woodson, New Hampshire, and Austin, Texas. The Air Force injected $145 million to add an infrared sensor alongside the laser. And the result? The F-16 pilot illuminates the enemy drone with the laser for just a second and fires. The rocket records the thermal signature. It chases and kills the target on its own, while the American pilot turns away and looks for the next threat. This is maximum efficiency at minimum cost. Now, why did the Air Force need to spend millions to develop a bomb that goes through a specific window? Because we're dealing with an enemy that has no morals. Iran is being crushed, and their survival strategy is straight from the vilest playbook in modern terrorism: the deliberate use of human shields. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard doesn't build military bases in the middle of the desert if they can avoid it. They deliberately set up their command and control headquarters right in the middle of densely populated urban areas. If they can place a logistics base next to a museum, a hospital, or a crowded university, for them that's a strategic victory. The Iranian logic is grim. If the United States doesn't attack, the Revolutionary Guard survives to launch more missiles. If the United States and Israel attack and cause collateral damage to civilians, Iran uses the global propaganda machine, mobilizes the far left at the United Nations, and plays the victim 24 hours a day on television, claiming to be the target of American imperialism. Do you see the pattern? Iran outsourced its protection, but CENTCOM shut that game down. The GBU-59 destroys the target without taking down the whole block. American surgical precision completely frustrated the strategy of using human shields, not to mention the presence of the CIA and Mossad on the ground. And the moment American fighter jets started coming through the commander's windows without causing mass civilian casualties, panic set in. The Revolutionary Guard officers began to abandon their urban headquarters, dispersing and losing control of coordinated command. While the F-16s were crushing command in Iran, what happened on the other side of the Middle East proved the lethality of American defense. 2 days ago, the Revolutionary Guard attempted a massive surprise attack against the Mawaf and Salti air base in Jordan, and the reason is very specific. The Iranian commanders categorically state that this base functions as the secret forward headquarters of CENTCOM in the region. It was the prime target of their retaliation. They launched 5 ballistic missiles at once, tearing through the night sky. But American readiness swept away the threat. United States air defenses and Jordanian forces engaged the threat in milliseconds and brought down all 5 missiles in the middle of the desert. Not a single missile managed to break through the blockade. But if you think that saving millions of dollars by using cheap missiles or the precision of a night fighter is the big victory, wait until you see what the financial blockade is causing in the very core of power. The CENTCOM statement after 3 hours of attacks was lethal. They claim to have destroyed naval bases, command centers, and coastal defense radars. But the last sentence of the report was not written for the Western press. It was a direct message straight at the Ayatollah's throats. More than 50,000 American service members are mobilized in the Middle East. Vigilant, focused, and ready. They are reminding Iran that the world's largest army is camped in their backyard, floating in the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran absurdly calls its private pool. The truth at the Ikru is that the mullahs of Iran operate like mafia bosses, drug cartels with a seat at the UN. And for years, loose policies sent pallets of cash to Tehran, and just like giving money to Al Capone or Pablo Escobar, that funding only fed the beast. Iran funded the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, Iraqi militias, and now they've lost control and plausible deniability themselves. Everyone knows that the final command comes from Tehran, and that's why the American naval blockade is crushing the regime. The United States task force is forcing Iran's smuggling ships back into port. They're losing an estimated $500 million a day in illicit oil sales that they can't get out. The Ayatollahs see their bank accounts dropping from $200 million a month to $10 million. They're all in absolute panic. Those missiles launched in blind retaliation are spasms of frustration. It's the action of cartel leaders isolated in their golden bunkers, while the country's economy collapses on the backs of the oppressed civilian population. My friends, the chessboard is global. While Iran bleeds in the desert, what happens when Russia decides to test that same military readiness on NATO's eastern border? In eastern Poland, the alarms sounded. A Polish F-16 pilot received the order for immediate scramble. He runs to the jet, powers up the combat systems, and is vectored toward the border where radar has identified multiple signatures of Russian drones coming in at high speed. The fighter closes the distance, crossing the 5-kilometer mark, preparing the weapons. But when he arrives at the target location, there are no drones in the air. There is only a smoldering crater and fragments on the ground in a Polish village. The Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, went public and confirmed that the fragments point to a Russian K-101 cruise missile. Poland was ready to engage and destroy the threat in the air, but the missile suffered a critical malfunction and crashed. Or possibly it was shot down by other stealth systems before the F-16 reached the ideal kill window. This is no accident, my friends. When Russia launches an advanced cruise missile toward Polish airspace, that's a massive and calculated strategic move. Vladimir Putin is pushing the limits, forcing NATO defenses to react, measuring the interception times of European F-16s and testing whether the West has the courage to respond. The objective of Russia is not to hit a village in Poland. The objective is to keep NATO under constant mental exhaustion and tactical paranoia, testing the resilience of the Western system exactly while the Americans are busy in the Middle East. And if you understand the gravity of what we're breaking down here, if you understand the tactical difference between the American doctrine of precision and the terrorist doctrine of human shields, I want you to claim your place in this community. Go down to the comments right now and type these 2 keywords in all caps. These are codes that will show the system the size of our elite community. Type now, absolute control and system collapse. Absolute control and system collapse. That's the password for our analysis today. But if you want to look ahead to the next decade of military supremacy, you have to understand how technology will isolate leaders like Ayatollahs or Putin and why modern warfare is slipping out of human hands. In high-level 4D chess, what's not being said in the newspapers is the lethal integration between traditional aviation and artificial intelligence. Imagine the powerful A-10 Warthog ground attack fighter or the F-16 itself operating in the skies of Saudi Arabia, flying together. Not with other manned aircraft, but under AI command. Companies like Shield.ai and Andrew are changing the rules of the game. We're talking about complex AI systems where dozens of advanced autonomous drones like the Andrew Fury fly over the airspace above the manned fighters. These drones serve as shields, independent hunters, or advanced reconnaissance platforms. They can dive in to sweep air defense complexes, enemy air defense complexes without risking the life of a single human pilot. And this web is already operating in the real world right now. Behind the tactical scenes of this very conflict, a silent coalition is dominating the skies. The lethal military tactic known as SEED. They are mapping and physically destroying Iranian anti-aircraft missile batteries, taking down the enemy's shield, so that drone forces can clear what remains. The visibility and control that this cyberweb provides is frightening and unmatched. Iran fights with smuggled technology and a medieval ideology. The United States and Israel are already testing 22nd century infantry in the air. Now pay attention. Technological supremacy defines who lives and who dies in today's wars, and who doesn't have the lethal tool at the exact moment of impact. They become just another forgotten crater in the history books. Today, the most valuable currency in the world is attention. And for the entrepreneur, the professional, what hurts the most is being the best at what you do and not being seen. You have great knowledge, a great business, but no one knows you exist. Have you noticed how hard it is for people to absorb serious content on social media? It seems like only dances or memes go viral. I used to think the same way. 15 years ago on radio and television, I realized that building authority mainly depends on content and a solid strategy. Today, I generate 50 million views per month on social media. The math is clear and monetized in dollars. I am now recruiting entrepreneurs and professionals who are the best at what they do, but are still invisible. People who want to break out of the bubble, be recognized in the market, And what about monetizing all of this? The game now is about media, my friend. To break through this barrier of invisibility, you need to be a media company. And the reality is that your identity can't be outsourced. The owner needs to put himself out there and guide the vision of the business. Is the time over when you could just record with your phone or without any authority and still manage to sell? The digital world demands professionalism. I'm sure you understand all of this, you just don't know how to put it into practice. So on August 16th, I'll be doing a 100% in-person immersion locked in with me in my studio in Curitiba. I will personally guide you in building your authority with the lethal method that got me here. The QR code is on your screen now. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment, but I need to be straightforward, there are only a few spots left. When the last spot is filled, the steel door closes and that's it. Click the link right now and come face to face with me and find out how I, talking about such an important, dense, and deep subject, managed to get into your home. And for those of you who've stayed with me this far, I'm going to recommend two fantastic series that talk about the conflicts in the Middle East. They're on our channel with tips on series and movies. It seems like Hollywood already knew what was going to happen. Yeah, my friends. So click the link in the pinned comment. And click the card that will appear on your screen to access a curated list of titles so you don't waste any more time. No woke culture, no whining, just click and enjoy with your family on the weekend. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell and leave a like on the video. And if you think this content deserves to reach thousands of Brazilians like you, you can become a member and receive our content in advance. Now blend your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.